Hello, my name is Vaughn Schmid. I'm one of the technology portfolio managers here at the University of Minnesota. I work in the tech commercialization office. I've been in the office now for 6.5 years, and I work primarily with medical device and other healthcare-based innovations here at the university. I have a background in patent law as well as biology and chemistry. All right, so this course will take hopefully about 25 minutes. The learning objectives are below here. So what is tech transfer and why do we care about it? Understanding the IP protection and commercialization process. What are some of the keys to success? How do you develop your support team? What makes a high quality IP disclosure, which is going to be the starting point for your commercialization journey? And then how do you support commercialization as an inventor? We'll kind of go through each of those in detail here. First, I'd like to introduce AUTM, which is the Association for University Technology Managers. It's our trade group here for the TTOs, or tech transfer offices. It's a nonprofit leader in efforts to educate, promote, and inspire tech transfer professionals to support the development of academic research with the goal of changing the world and driving innovation forward. It's a large community, and there's lots of great info and materials on tech transfer. You can visit their website at autum.net. All right, one of the kind of foundational pieces of tech transfer is the Bayh-Dole Act, which has been maximizing the impact of federally funded research since 1980. The Bayh-Dole Act allowed universities and researchers to retain title to inventions made using federal research dollars, which incentivizes the transfer of technology to the private sector for job creation. Net licensing revenues to universities go back into more research, education, or patent costs. All right, what is technology transfer? What do we mean by that? Tech transfer or technology commercialization is the process by which valuable research, skills, knowledge, and technology is delivered from research institutions to external entities, either nonprofit or commercial, where it can be used and or developed into a commercial product or service with wider application and distribution. So you can see this little graphic here down at the bottom where we have the researcher developing or inventing, your tech transfer office there in the middle, helping to kind of create that connection to an industry partner, hopefully as a licensee, to really turn that innovation or that invention into a product or service that can be used in the greater public. And so why do we want to commercialize technology? An example here of our mission statement here at the University of Minnesota, we are here to facilitate the transfer of university research to develop new products and services that will benefit the public good. We want to get these technologies out there and get them used, and commercialization is often the best method for that. We want to foster economic growth both here within the state as well as nationally and globally. And then ultimately too, we want to generate some revenue to bring back into the university to support the labs and the university's mission. All right, here's a high-level overview of the commercialization process. Now, if it was easy as just steps 1 through 5, that would be great, but it's not. But this is just a high-level overview. And really, step 1, it starts with you as the faculty and the researchers, and it's that development piece. So you're developing new IP, either making new discoveries or inventing new methods or devices. And then once you kind of have that invention or discovery identified, that's when you should be reaching out to your tech transfer office. And their role in this is to help protect and license that intellectual property asset, whether that's a patent application, an issued patent, or a copyright asset, or some other form of intellectual property. And then the goal for that IP asset is to then be licensed either to an existing company, or another route is to start a new company and form a startup that's going to take that IP. Again, it's still going to be a license between either the company existing or the new company, but depending on the business plan, there's some options there. And then once that IP asset has been licensed, the commercial partner, either the company or the startup, it's their job to develop it further into a product and ultimately sell the product. And then so once there's products being sold using your IP, that's generating income, and that company will pay the university or your institution some sort of royalty percentage. And hopefully that goes back into your research and continues to help you develop new innovations and new IP. All right, this is a little bit of an eye test, but this is a maybe more detailed version of that step-by-step. And this is an example. This is from our office here at the University of Minnesota, a step-by-step guide. Again, steps 1 through 10, and you can see kind of where each group is focused as far as what their roles are. But I do want to highlight, and we'll talk about it in a couple of slides here, that this is a group and team effort. It's not just the researchers just develop the IP, the Tech Commercialization Office just protects. It's certainly a team effort to get all the way from that research piece and innovating and creating new IP all the way through to commercialization and revenue. All right, what are some keys to success? Again, I think that at a high level, these should apply to every institution that you may work for, but really having a dedicated technology transfer and support team is helpful and key. Each university should have some version of our office here at the University of Minnesota. Again, some tech transfer offices are smaller, maybe it's only 3 to 5 folks. Others like ours are maybe bigger, where it's 30 to 35 full-time employees at any given time, again, depending on the size of your institution and the amount of research that's going on. Another key to success is understanding the marketplace, and understanding the local regional economy is helpful. Establishing university and private sector relationships, both as an individual researcher as well as a lab, as well as a university, that can help access additional research funding outside of the traditional NIH or federal funding. Establishing those relationships can really be helpful when it comes to commercialization. Again, another key is we want to be able to bridge the gap between invention and commercialization. There's oftentimes what's called the valley of death between that basic research funding and the commercialization aspect, where we need to be able to figure out how can we advance the technology through other sorts of gap funding initiatives to really make that invention something that is commercializable. Strong IP protection is very key. That's really the main asset here from the university's side and from your side as an inventor, making sure that you have strong patents or strong copyrights, and that IP is protected well. Outstanding researchers doing outstanding research. Again, none of this would happen without the research going on at the front end by you and your peers. And then again, a long-term financial commitment, both from your university or institution, as well as external partners. All right, talk a little bit about developing your support team. And I think one of the things here to note is one of our roles here in tech commercialization at the University of Minnesota is making sure our researchers know about our office. And so if you are interested in commercializing technology, please familiarize yourself with your tech transfer team. They're often a key node within the university system, and they can help identify key resources available to you both within your institution as well as externally. I get lots of questions from all over the university about different aspects along the pathway of commercialization, and while I may not have the answers, I usually know who to connect people with. And so tech transfer offices are, like I said, oftentimes a key node within that university system that can help you figure out where to go with your questions from an IP and commercialization standpoint. Another piece of your support team outside of your lab group is going to be making sure that you can establish relationships with industry partners and business advisors. You are going to be the expert on your technology. But industry partners or business advisors are going to be key to help understanding the business case for your innovations and how you might be able to take your idea and get it into the market. Your tech transfer office is going to have contacts and they can help market your technology. And sometimes we do that all on our own. But often the most successful connections are made by you as the inventors. You're going to be the ones who have those the key knowledge around what companies are in this space, what other researchers are in this space, and really the most successful commercialization activities often happen when the inventor is heavily involved throughout the process. And then these relationships can also lead to additional research funding, which I think is a nice aspect to this that often gets overlooked. One thing is commercializing your IP through licensing and generating revenue. But if you're working on something really interesting and you're working on something that's commercially relevant, that can oftentimes lead to additional research funding from those industry partners. All right, when do we want to report our invention? I would say it's as soon as possible. Never underestimate the value and potential of your research. It's never too soon to reach out to your tech transfer office, but it can be too late. And what we mean by too late is really around public disclosure. And so it's important to note that anytime that you are publishing or presenting a new discovery or a new innovation, if you haven't already disclosed your idea to your tech transfer office and there's not a patent in place, for example, if it's going the patent route, that can impact your ability to file a patent. And so contact your TTO to discuss your ideas and protect your invention. If your research has resulted in a new discovery, if you're planning on publishing or presenting that discovery, if you have federally funded or industry-sponsored research that may have resulted in IP, oftentimes those will have reporting requirements or other requirements within that funding. If you want to send research tools or other materials based on your work to another institution, if a company is reaching out to you and wants to learn more about your research and specifically around your innovations or discoveries, we want to make sure that you're in touch with your tech transfer office. And finally, if you want to start a company based around your technology, certainly reach out to your tech transfer office and talk about what sorts of resources are available to you. All right, disclosing your IP. This is really kind of the first step in the process when working with your tech transfer office, and a high quality IP disclosure or a report of invention is going to be the first step in that commercialization process. And at a high level, really what we're trying to do here is really describe your invention. So a high quality IP disclosure is going to include a high level summary that's helpful. But again, I think the devil's in the details, and those details matter. So make sure that you're including any figures, graphs, data, supporting manuscripts, or any other materials that you have that can help your tech transfer office understand, what is this invention? What is it doing? Why is it quote unquote good? What is better about this versus what's been done in the past, and really kind of focus on those essential elements and the problems solved by these elements in your invention. It's also helpful to include the stage of development it's at and any plans that are in place already to advance it, whether that's you have ongoing funding, or you have publications coming up, or there's prototyping that you're working on. Knowing where you're at in the process is helpful as well in that disclosure. Continuing on a good IP disclosure, you want to make sure that you're including the funding sources and any third-party materials. It's important to include all sources of funding related to the conception and the development of your invention, because a lot of those funding sources, like I said earlier, will include IP terms, which your tech transfer office then reviews to help confirm IP rights and reporting requirements. The main thing we want to make sure here is, does your institution own this IP, or does one of these funders own it? Who's going to take the lead in filing patents, those sorts of things. And as well as, in addition to that funding, we also want to know about any third-party materials. And so that's going to be, if you received any biological or chemical material through an MTA, if you're using software code or data from a source that has a license attached to it, any content or images, etc. If those are acquired from a third party, either a lab or a company, and incorporated into the creation of the invention, it's going to be really helpful for your tech transfer office to know about those. Another key component of your disclosure is going to be contributors. So who all contributed to this invention? And I use the term contributor versus inventor because I think sometimes it's not quite clear. And so I think it's helpful to be as inclusive as you can be and work with your tech transfer office to help figure out if we're going the patent route. Inventorship, it's a legal determination that's going to be made by your tech transfer office and your patent counsel, and they can help figure that out. But again, I think making sure that you have everyone that contributed to the invention in your disclosure will help along the way. And again, the final piece here, public disclosures. Hopefully there haven't been any already. If there have been, include those. There are some options, especially here in the US. We have a 1-year grace period if we're going to be going the patent route. But please include any upcoming or already occurred publications, presentations, or any other potential public disclosures that occurred. Public disclosures can impact your patent rights, and so it's important to contact your TTO well before you make any of those materials related to your invention available to others outside of your institution, whether that's through a publication, through a presentation, through a poster session, through a tweet, through a Facebook post. Anything that's going to be in the public domain could potentially be considered a public disclosure and impact your ability to file patents. All right, transitioning into how do we support commercialization as an inventor? What are the things that you can do as an inventor to help along in this commercialization process? I would highlight here that disclosing your IP is the first step, but it's not the only step. There's a lot of steps in this process, and the more involved you can be as an inventor along the way, I think the more successful it can be. It's very important throughout the whole entire patenting process and licensing process to be engaged with your TTO. As the inventor, you'll often be asked to help provide technical evaluation and input during the patent drafting and prosecution phases, both looking at prior art that's come up that might be similar to your invention and helping your TTO figure out, why is your idea, why is your invention different, why is it better? And then as you go through the prosecution of the patent application, working with the patent counsel and your tech transfer office to determine when there's prior art being brought by an examiner, how can we address those while also keeping the core value of your IP in place, making sure that the patent claims that we end up going after match up with your understanding of the invention as well as the potential commercial market. Again, on the licensing side, being available to discuss the technical aspects with interested companies is often a key piece in that licensing process. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. Making sure that you advocate for your research and help market your technology, presenting at conferences, publishing in journals, sharing it with industry partners or business advisors. And then again, continuing that development of the technology. A lot of times at the tech transfer office, we're seeing things at a very early stage, and they're very promising, but there's a lot of work and a lot of development that needs to happen. And the further along it is in that development process, the easier and more likely it is that we're going to be able to find a licensee that's interested. And remember, you are the expert on your technology. Your tech transfer office is there to help. They're there to help figure out what patents should be filed, how can we protect the IP, how can we license this, ultimately getting to that license. But again, we're going to rely heavily on you as the inventor to make sure that we're understanding your technology and making sure that we're moving forward in the right manner. All right, so how you get involved in the process is up to you. And so you can get involved at any level. You can see here on this chart that we put together for our researchers here at the University of Minnesota. You can see on the left-hand side here the relative level of involvement and the amount of activity going on. And at the very low level is just being an advocate for your tech transfer office. And so that's letting your colleagues know or others know that we're around and available, all the way up to an inventor. You're creating something, you're working with your tech transfer office to help license the technology, all the way up to participating in a startup. And again, at the high end level here is acting as a company's CEO or in the C-suite of a company. It's never too early or late in your career to start in that commercialization as an inventor, and that first step is really to engage with your tech transfer office. Right. One other piece here that I think is important to note for inventors and how you can support commercialization is making sure that you have all of the materials ready that your tech transfer office can use when looking at licensees. And so this is a checklist for licensing readiness. And one of the first things here is figuring out is this ready and will a company engage? Things they're looking at as a company. Is this a solution that meets an unmet need? Is there a clear benefit over existing devices or other innovations? What's the fit with the company's key strategic direction? Does it fill a gap or complement the company's strategic portfolio? Is there a clear customer and a sales pathway? Is it a profitable solution, or is it going to be very costly? What's the current risk level to market launch? Again, we don't need to have all the answers to these questions to start engaging with the licensee, but to be thinking about this as you're going through the process is helpful. And again, these are things that your tech transfer office can work with you on to make sure that we can answer those questions when a licensee comes to us and asks about them. And then another component of that licensing readiness is going to be, is this passing the company's due diligence? And so when a potential licensee is taking a look at a technology, they're going to have questions. They're going to want to engage with you as the clinician or researcher to engage with their company's experts. A working prototype that we can show to a potential licensee is really helpful. Benchtop testing or animal and clinical testing results are going to be helpful. What's the regulatory pathway look like? What's the strategy there? Having that for the company is helpful. Again, we can help with that as the tech transfer office, but again, it's something that is a team effort. What are the plans to support the transition of the IP asset from the university over into the company? Again, they're going to have some questions. I mean, it's not just handing over a patent and saying, here you go. We want to know, what are kind of the ins and outs and how can we make this work in a way that's beneficial to the company? What sorts of company resources are identified and available, again, to take it from that IP asset to ultimately a product. And again, they have to passes the deep dive sales and financials digs to make sure it makes sense from an economic standpoint for the company to take that IP. All right. Hopefully you got some key takeaways out of this, but I want to highlight these three points that I hope you got from this presentation. Discovery and innovation and invention is really the first step in a long and often challenging path towards commercialization. But don't worry, we're here to help. Make sure that you're engaging with your tech transfer office as early and often as possible to access resources both within your institution as well as externally and help support you on your journey in commercialization. And finally, you are the expert in your technology. Make sure that you're being a champion of it. Thank you for your time and good luck.